Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast. Shortly, we'll be joined by Weatherstate, who will be releasing their new collection, All Bangers, No Clangers, to celebrate their 10th anniversary. But before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening. So, welcome to Harry and Callan from Weatherstate to the Full Pelt Music Podcast. Happy Easter as well. How are you both doing?
Yeah, doing really good, thanks,
Doing
mate.
great, mate. Yeah, it's surprisingly sunny Easter after a miserable winter, so making the most of the weather and all that, really. But yeah, doing all right.
Exactly. It was bank holiday. It was Good Friday, and I noticed that the weather had obviously got very miserable, and I thought, yep, typical Great British bank holiday weekend. It's going to rain all weekend, but yeah, the sun is out, shockingly. So yeah, that is to get a good pun in early, the state of the weather. But yeah, yes,
Missed the trick there.
Oh, exactly. I'm sure you've never heard that
Brilliant.
one before. I'm sure, but obviously Weatherstate, yeah, great time for me to be able to come and have a chat with you because you're celebrating your 10th anniversary. So we've got a few bits to delve into. But first things first, you've just played this weekend Underground Festival over in Gloucester, a lovely, lovely city, Gloucester. I spent quite a bit of time there for work for various reasons, and yeah, some great little music venues there. So you just obviously headlined one of the stages at Underground. How was the weekend for you? How did it go?
Yeah, it was really good. Obviously, it's the first show we played in a while, so it's great just to kind of be back at it. But yeah, it was a really good show. Turnout was wicked. Yeah, promoter Andy's really good guy. So yeah, it was just effortless. But yeah, the venue was real tiny, so it's a proper sweat box in there. But yeah, it's a real good atmosphere.
Yeah, it was quite unique. It was like it's like an underground bunker tunnel kind of room in a place called Cafe Ren. I want to say it's Rene,
Yeah,
whatever it's called. But yeah, it was like a proper DIY affair. It was very much like the sound is as loud as your amps go, really. And yeah, it was a really good time. We've never done Gloucester, but yeah, it was a really cool place to play. Really, we've done Cheltenham loads, like neighbouring city, but yeah, it was a really cool vibe there. And one thing that always surprised me is like Andy, the promoter there, he's somehow got this like superpower to just get as many people into his shows as much as possible. So yeah, it was super cool vibes, really good show anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the best shows. An arena show, a stadium show, are great once in a while. But, the best shows are happening every single night of the week out there, in these sweaty little venues, DIY promoters putting on fantastic bands such as yourselves. And yeah, I was chuffed. I saw it sold out. Again, bank holiday weekend, getting people in at Gloucester, to a sort of festival like that is fantastic. Yeah, because the industry is tough. So it's great that we can celebrate some successes like that. And yeah, Gloucester isn't one of the sort of first names on the touring circuit for a lot of bands. But I've caught, I think I saw Skinny Lister there and Idlewild there.
Oh, really?
Sort of away with work and just like, oh wow, they're playing. Yeah, they said long that. So yeah, in all of these sort of cities and towns across the UK that you might not have thought are a place where you'd see touring bands. If you keep an eye out, you will find some great events happening. And yeah, first sort of positive speech from me is just for listeners, just come along to these shows that are going on across there because it is so important to support grassroots music venues and obviously sort of independent bands out there such as yourselves. Obviously. 10 years in now, as we say, for Weatherstate, time really does fly, and I feel more and more old, every day that goes by. But 10 years, it probably has gone in a flash. You're going to be celebrating it though with a tape collection, so 3 cassette tapes with your first 3 releases, a couple of EPs and an album there, and obviously, there's a box set available that looks great. It's called All Bangers, No Clangers, which again, great name. I love that. So, how did you come to the decision that that's how you wanted to celebrate your 10-year anniversary and put out a collection of cassettes?
Yeah, it was kind of just like out of the blue, really. Like we realised, like towards the end of last year, that our 10th birthday was coming up. Do we kind of just want to do anything special for it? And I had the idea for a while, like, oh, maybe we can put out some kind of unique pressing or something, cool, just to celebrate that landmark. And what we decided and settled on in the end was let's just do like almost like a discography tape collection of our first like 3 releases. And yeah, just make it like a unique package and all this other stuff, and just like some beautiful, colorful tapes and all that stuff. A lot of the first kind of presses of tapes we sold out years and years ago now, so I feel like we're about overdue to kind of make some new ones. So that's how the idea came about, really. But
We wanted it to be just like a celebration of, you know, the decade, and all the inserts and stuff are really cool. Like anyone that picks one up will see like it's got loads of cool like photos and like stuff from like, you know, the shows you played over the years and stuff. We wanted it to be kind of like a kind of culmination of that kind of thing, just something we could celebrate, really.
Yeah, and there's certain things like Born a Cynic's never been on cassette before. Now it's another excuse to kind of get it out there. So yeah, it's just it's just a cool, unique little kind of
cool like collector's kind of like
thing.
It's, you know, obviously it's just small, and you know, cassettes are, it's more just a collection thing as opposed to a practical thing. But you know, it's just like a cool thing to have, you know, especially having the whole collection. Well, the first 3 records there.
Yeah, absolutely is, Harry. A cool collection, as you say. And yeah, you quite often see news articles these days talking about, you know, how well vinyl's doing, and you know how well cassettes are doing. All these old sort of formats coming back, because we live in a digital age, and you know, it's always great to be able to go, oh, you know, I haven't heard Weatherstate in a while. Let me just put on like my streaming service of choice and never listen. But you can't beat a good physical sort of item. You know, even CDs, I think, have made a bit of a bounce back, which is a bit of a surprise. But yeah, cassettes in particular are. You talk to my heart with cassettes, because I was, you know, born in the late 80s, sort of 90s child. So cassettes were my thing when I was growing up. So it looks fantastic, and definitely encourage listeners to pick up, you know, a copy if there's any still available, because I know all the limited run. There'll be a link in the bio, and obviously listeners, you know, click through and do get that collector's piece, really. It's fantastic. And to obviously celebrate as well, you've put out a cover of Burnout, a great Green Day song, you know, off the Dookie album, which is, you know, just obviously, you know, but for a punk kid, you know, is just like, you know, that sort of holy grail of an album, isn't it, really? So what does that song mean for you? You know, why have you chosen that song to cover?
Well, yeah, so the first show, we've mentioned it in some of the press release stuff we've done, but the first ever show Weatherstate did was actually a Green Day cover set. And we opened the set with that song, because obviously first song on Dookie, and you know, it's maybe a little bit more of a deep cut than some of the obvious Green Day ones, but for us, you know, Dookie was like, as you say, it's like the pinnacle, isn't it? So it's the first song we played together. We've played it live like a handful of times since. It's not been on every set we've done when we do tours and stuff, but we kind of do it, you know, intermittently drop it in and out kind of thing. And then we were just like, that would be perfect to add to this kind of collection, and kind of like, again, like it kind of comes full circle on the whole piece, and goes with the tape collection, where, like I said, it's a celebration of the history kind of thing, and we just obviously fucking love it as a song. So you know, it makes complete sense to do it. So
yeah, like it was kind of like we were celebrating this anniversary at the same time as like Dookie is celebrating its 30th anniversary, and that first show, yeah, it was like a Green Day. It was a Green Day cover set in celebration of Dookie's 20th at the time.
Yeah,
and it was just some kind of club night in Southampton, wasn't it? It's just like we were just playing upstairs. A lot of people would just, you know, don't care less, are downstairs listening to, you know, a DJ or something. But we had the opportunity just to play those songs, and we were like, you know, we've grown up on Green Day, and it was kind of the perfect kind of storm where, you know, we got offered that. We didn't have enough songs at the time to be like a proper band playing live. We only had 3 songs under our belt at that time. So for that to come up as an excuse to play our first show, it was like, yeah, let's do it.
But, we played in previous bands together and stuff. That was the kind of incarnation of like the kind of start of Weatherstate. So yeah, it's where we played Green Day songs in our bands since we were like, you know, 13, 14 years old. It's just, so it wasn't exactly hard to learn the set, was it? It was just like,
subconsciously, this is all there.
Yeah,
you know?
And obviously when you know, starting a new band and stuff, you have the nerves of like a first show, but to just play a load of Green Day covers, it was just like such a good, like, you know, going back to the reason why we wanted to start Weatherstate, just starting up something that was more punk rock and more fun, and it just kind of epitomized that kind of thing, really. So it's really good to finally be able to actually record it and, you know, solidify that with the cover, you know. So yeah, Absolutely. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah, no, definitely. It brings everything full circle, as you say, which is really, really nice. And yeah, the first show Nerves playing a bunch of Green Day covers is a bit of an easy win as long as you can do them the justice they deserve. And I have to say, with the cover, obviously you put out Burn Out Now. Listeners do need to go and check it out. Obviously, it's on all the streaming platforms. It's on our playlist as well. We just added it. So, you have done it justice. It's a fantastic take on the song. So, I'm glad it's out there, and it does bring everything full circle for them fans of you that have been, with you from the start. It'd be nice for them to actually have a copy of it they can listen to rather than just the live sort of side of things. So,
sure, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to celebrate. It's great to take stock. The music industry is incredibly tough, and a lot of bands don't get to 10 years. A lot of bands don't get to 5 years. So I always, I think it's great to celebrate, sort of monumental releases and birthdays, as it were. So hopefully we can do that with the next sort of 3 questions. Take stock of, that 10 years for Weatherstate. And the first one will be an obvious one, and sort of a question I probably avoid asking on most podcasts, and I've probably actually never asked it on this podcast, to be honest. But we're going to go in for it. And looking back at that 10 years, what sort of highlights just jump out at you?
Oh, there's loads.
I think for me personally, just to start, was probably when we played Slam Dunk in 2021. That was a massive moment.
Yeah.
Obviously we're used to doing like smaller shows, kind of like 100, 200 cap rooms and stuff. Obviously, like the one in Gloucester, just a real small kind of intimate thing, which is great. But basically we've always been fans of obviously Slam Dunk, and like some of the organisers quite well, and we ended up getting the opportunity for it, but it was kind of quite last minute, and we were just like, fuck yeah, it's amazing kind of thing. And we ended up actually getting put on before the surprise act, which ended up being McFly. So there was so many people that obviously got wind of it on Twitter and stuff, and turned up early to watch them. So we benefited from that basically. And walking out to this on the stage at the North Slam Dunk in Leeds to see a crowd like that big was just like, holy shit! Like this is like 50 times bigger than our average kind of. So like. And what made it even better is that it went down really well. We had some technical difficulties before we actually got on stage in terms of the stage nearly collapsing, but that's probably a different story for a different day. But in terms of the set itself, it's kind of like sink or swim in that moment. You look outside through the kind of side stage and look out and think, holy shit, and you get out and then it's just, great fun. And after the first song, the reaction and stuff was really great. So then it was just like smiles on their faces for the rest of it. I remember just like leaving the stage and just being like, shit, that's like fucking massive,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like probably something that'll always kind of like stand out as being like a big moment,
Yeah. For me, I think like it's not even necessarily like a live kind of thing, but like the accomplishment of us managing to get our music to Green Day, I think that was like a cool mission in itself, just like a side mission. We back in like 2017, 2019.
Yeah.
We just put out Born a Cynic, our debut album, and we spent like weeks making like the first music video for it, and it was just like a big plan. And then speaking to our director at the time, Ben, it's like, what are we going to do for the next single or video for that single? And he was like, I don't know, why don't we just do Basket Case? So we did a shot-for-shot remake of the Basket Case video. And it ended up being like probably the easiest video we've ever made, just because it was already done. We just copy and pasted the shots and stuff. But the challenge was when it eventually released was how are we let's try our best to get this song into like the laps of Green Day, and so they can see this video and all this other stuff. So these guys had like a big plan of like, oh, we're gonna start following like Instagram accounts that the Green Day members follow, like fan accounts, and then we'll message them and be like, hey, can you put this video out on your page and stuff like that. And so we were doing all sorts of work like that, and it's like a big mission. And I just remember after a long day of work, I got home late. I'm a chef, and I got home from work, and I just boiled in some pasta, just knackered, and I just kept hearing my phone pop off in the corner of the room, and I eventually went and checked it. And it was all these guys going, oh my God, yes. And it was basically Mike Dirnt had tweeted the video. And it was basically, despite all those efforts through Instagram to get the song into his hands, it was basically a Kerrang article that did it. So like, good job PR work sometimes, But yeah, it was very much like he just tweeted it saying, I got to admit, this is really cool. Congrats, guys, on the release. And we were just like, yes, we did it.
Mm.
Got the music in the hands of Mike Dern.
To make it even funnier is that we got absolutely like bombarded in the comments on that as well, because there's a lot, by getting it to those Green Day pages, there's a lot of angry people that couldn't see that we were doing it out of like humor as opposed to kind of like disrespect.
Yeah.
Some of the comments on it are horrible. Like some of them are amazing, and they're like, "This, you know, you smashed it." I think the actual director of the video, he commented on the YouTube thing as well, again saying, "This is great, like well done, like, you know, you basically kind of nailed the assignment," kind of thing. So, you know, we've got the director of the video, you've got Mike Dern approving it, but there's still some angry people around the world.
My favorite one is like someone going, "This is Basket Case by Green Day." That's the whole comment.
People
like,
just
yeah,
being like unoriginal, butchered it, shit compared to Green Day, and it's just like you're kind of missing the entire joke. Like it's not. That's exactly why we've done it. But anyway, it's like I said, it's always like good. Any publicity is good publicity with that kind of thing. But
that mission in itself was it was a cool accomplishment. I found. Just like finally got it there, you know.
And similar with like Burnout and stuff. Obviously, like Kerrang and Roxanne both picked up on that, and that was really cool. Like, you know, we're obviously, you know, I used to buy Kerrang every week, like when I was younger, kind of thing. So just seeing them post stuff like that with our name on it, it's always just like that's the kind of stuff that's like when we just give up all this and, you know, 10 years time or whatever, like you look back on it and you'll be like, that was awesome. You know, it's kind of like one of those cool moments. It doesn't really get old when you see that pop up, you know, just at work and you see Kerrang have just posted about it, you know.
Yeah, that's still weird to me. Like it's become normal now, but like it's still like if I was like 10 years old, it'd blow my mind. You're like, what the hell? My band's in Kerrang. What? You know.
Sometimes you have to do that. I know we're still like a smaller independent band and stuff like that, but it's more just like if you were to, you know, when you first learn guitar when you're 13, if you were to say, right, you've been able to do this, you get posted by this and this, like you'd be like, oh my god, you'd chop your hand off to do it, kind of thing. So sometimes you got to not take it for granted. If you think, oh, no one's really listening to us, it's, you know, we're not doing this, that, or the other, it's, you got to humble yourself and just be like, this is actually, you know, give yourself a pat on the back sometimes.
You keep it
don't give yourself a hard time is more what I mean, as opposed to big yourself up, you know. But yeah.
Absolutely. I love that message as well. Just, you know, a lot of people in all walks of life could, you know, take from that. And, you know, there are times we all beat ourselves up. And actually, you know, if you take stock of where you actually are and you think, hang on a minute, no, if I just told my 13-year-old self this, you know, where I am, you know, be it, you know, with, you know, your job, your personal life, your career, whatever it is, like, absolutely strong positive message. And I love as well the message of not giving up, you know, getting that in front of Green Day, the effort you went through, and obviously to get that sort of achievement and vindication of getting it out there, even though there is, as you say, some angry people out there that just like to shout at the clouds and they don't actually know what their problem is. But you know, we won't get into politics or anything, because there's a lot of people that I could, you know, signpost around that. But I loved your story as well. Slam dunk. That is annoyingly one of the few slam dunks I missed, because it was COVID era and I caught COVID and I couldn't go and I was gutted.
Oh no.
But I just remember you mentioned obviously the McFly secret set. I was there a few years before that. They did a Busted secret set. And I desperately wanted to watch Preston Miko, fantastic band who were playing.
Love Preston Miko.
They're playing after Busted.
Awesome.
They are or were, sadly we should say. Hello, Unpeople, new band for people listening. Unpeople, check them out. And I just remember the hordes of people there and me trying to sort of get through. Actually, as much as I actually did have a nice little sing along to Busted, I was trying to get to the front for Preston Miko, but obviously the crowd was so hostile because they wanted to watch Busted, and it's just like, hang on a minute, like, I want to watch like Preston Miko. But I'm glad the experience went well, obviously for you guys.
I was definitely concerned that it was going to be like we might just like get absolutely shat on here, like playing to like a couple thousand people and just being like, what on earth is this? But I think everyone was just so pissed and just having a great time. And as you do at Slam Dunk, right, it's a day festival, you just kind of got to make the most of all of it.
And with it being post-COVID and up until the 11th hour, festivals were getting cancelled left, right and centre still. Like for Slam Dunk to happen, it was just so cool. People just enjoyed it for the sake of live music, I think.
Yeah, I remember leading up to it. I'm so glad I didn't know that it was going to be. I knew we were going to be on the smaller stage, but I thought you play to a good selection of people, but I'm glad I didn't realise it was going to be that much. Otherwise, I wouldn't have slept. Like, I'm really bad with overthinking and stuff like that. But as soon as we got out there, you can't do anything about it, kind of thing. It's just, it kind of forces you to just in the moment, just kind of step up or whatever. But like, yeah, it was way more than I, anticipated. I think like you said, it's post-COVID and everyone was so excited to get back out again. But yeah, it was an awesome experience.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and looking forward to it this year. And obviously, that's some highlights. Last time I remember talking to a band about a big anniversary, it was Bowling for Soup, and I spoke to them about obviously the highlights, and then on the spur of the moment, I thought, you know what, I'm going to ask you about your low lights. So I want to do that now, and just obviously it works really, really well with those guys. But I don't want to bring it down too much, so we won't dwell on it too much. But obviously, it is a tough industry. It really, really is. So
I've got a good one.
Go against that. What would be the low lights of your career?
Well, also the end of Slam Dunk 2021. So to explain this story, right? So we were driving back. We just went and dropped off. We went to where we were staying the night before.
Yeah, and then outside Guildford.
Outside Guildford, and then we all like said bye to the rest of the band members. We split up and went in like different cars back or whatever. Anyway, we got down the road with Callan. Callan was driving. I reckon it'd be like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah,
Guildford or something.
It was barely any distance, wasn't it?
The car just lights started flashing up on it like a Christmas tree, and we were just like, oh shit. So we pulled over, but we were all still buzzing from the weekend. So we were just like, oh yeah, well, we'll call the AA or whatever, they'll be here in a bit. So then we called the AA, and this is where it started.
Yeah.
So then they said they were going to be like 2 hours, and we we're like, that sucks, but whatever, this will be a funny story in the future, whatever. And then someone did finally turn up after like 3 hours, and then we basically had to did we get towed or we had to drive?
They made us drive to the nearest service station.
Yeah, which was round the corner. They put all the lights on and stuff like that. So then we got to the service station, and then the guy then lifts up the bonnet, blah, blah, blah. So this is like 4 hours in at this point, and then he goes, "Oh, there's nothing we can do. It needs a didgeridoo, whatever."
Yeah, the issue was the tire had welded itself to the chassis or whatever.
Yeah,
and it was basically going to fall off if I kept driving. So
so it's nothing that you could just sort it out there and then, kind of thing. So then he's like, "Right, we're gonna have to get a recovery person to come." So then we were just like, "Okay, it is what it is." And then but because it's X amount of miles away, it's going to cost you like 150, 200 quid or something like that.
It was like 300 quid or something.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
But we were just like, okay, it sucks, but whatever. Vibes are still good at this point. By this point, it was like, must have been like 10, 11 o'clock or something like that. Then the pickup guy didn't turn up for like 3 hours. So there was going to be there like 2 hours or something. So by this point, it was like 1 a.m. Then he turned up, and he was just like the shadiest guy ever.
Yeah.
Started acting all like weird with us and saying, "Oh, I'm going to have to take you to like Southampton way." And we're like, "Hang on, we don't need to go that way. We need to go down south. We paid 300 quid to get home here."
Yeah.
And this guy started being almost like a bit aggressive and weird with us and saying these weird things. And we were like, "Hang on, I don't want to be in a car with this guy." And then it got, hours and hours passed. Then it got to 2:30 or something like that. And at this point, bear in mind, we broke down at about 7 at this point, and we were like, "This is taking the piss." Then they called. They finally, we complained, and then they brought another person, or so they said they were going to bring someone else. And we're by this point, we're just pacing around this car park for about 6 hours, just trying to kill time.
Yeah.
So then he took the car on with him in the end, didn't he?
Yeah. So the arrangement was, because this guy was sketch, we complained to like RAC, like, this guy's weird, we don't want to get in a car with him. They were like, right, he can take the car on, we'll order you guys a taxi, and you just get a taxi home. And I'm like, great. So they'll deliver your car tomorrow or whatever.
And by this point, we were just like, just get us home or whatever. So then this was like 3 a.m. Then the taxi driver that was going to come and pick us up
he went to the wrong
place. And we were just like, this is like a secret camera show or something, where someone's just trying to take the piss. And then he finally did turn up about 5 a.m. at this point, and we were there just like wired, just like whatever, just get home. And then he turned up, and he had a face like a slapped ass, just being like, or again, not aggressive, but just a bit weird. And we were like,
he said,
"God's sake,
hurry up, because I got to be back for the school run in like 2 hours." Like, it's like 2 hours away.
Yeah, we were like, well, the drive's like at least an hour and a half, so that's not going to happen. Anyway, we loaded the stuff in the car, and he was just fuming. And then he sped like the whole way back, like well over the limit. He was like overtaking people when he shouldn't do,
like blind corners.
I was in the front, just like wired, just get me home, just get me home. Like best show we've ever played, best weekend probably a long time, and then this is the most like traumatic thing. And then we got back to Weymouth, and then he started kicking off that we wouldn't do 2 drop-off points to mine and Callan's house. And I was like, just mate, this is just not now. Just get me to bed. And in the end, I said, I'll just pull over here, and just got out of the car and took my stuff. And I think he said, oh, I can do 2 drop-off points, but I'm going to charge you. So in the end, I just took my stuff and just didn't pay him, and just got in through the front door about, I think about 8 a.m. or something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was literally like 13 hours on the side of the road or something mental. But this was peak post-COVID kind of era. So like RAC were like, oh yeah, we only got a handful of people working. But it was just an absolute shit show. And what a downer from the weekend we just had.
It's like the yin and yang or whatever, like amazing like experience. And then that straight after, to be honest, if we just did that after like a really bad show or a bad weekend, then maybe that could have just been like something even worse. But now it's funny to look back on, but at the time it was just like being in a car park for 13 hours with like all your equipment just laid out on the floor.
That was the other thing. When the car had gone and we were waiting for this taxi for like 3 hours, we just had our guitars and all the gear on the floor of the car park, just hoping this taxi
we don't get mugged. So that's probably the I know that wasn't a specific like gig or anything like that, but
that's fantastic, because it does. It just shows, doesn't it? It proves the point. You go from that like highest of highs to that low in the space of like a couple of hours. And this, really funny story. As someone that unfortunately seems to break down more than anyone else, and has experienced that wait for the services to come and rescue you, as it were. I broke down after a gig just before Christmas, when it was like -4 degrees, and I had to wait hours and hours, and I hadn't taken a coat because I thought, the gig would be warm. So I'm in the car in like a t-shirt and like a thin hoodie in -4 degrees for hours, and there's nothing worse than that wait. Like, are they going to come? When are they going to come? So
it's not cool.
That's
the worst feeling as well, when you just like you feel helpless in that moment. You're like,
you do, don't you? You suddenly, like, you're not really an adult at that point. You just sort of become a bit of a child again, going, oh, please someone come and save me, because there's just nothing I can do. I don't know how to fix this. I can't get out of this problem. I need someone.
We were saying the same things. We're like, shall we ring our mums? Shall we see if they come and get us? Like...
I remember Toby had got home successfully. He got home in like an hour or something.
Oh yeah, our drummer got home, gone to sleep, woke up, was just like, what
messages from us going like, Toby, you might have to save us.
Yeah,
please.
And Toby was just like, what the fuck? Like, you're still there?
Yeah.
He'd already had like 8 hours sleep, and just like woke up and brushed his teeth and got ready for the day, and was like, what the fuck's going on?
It was awful.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, hopefully not something that'll be repeated. Obviously that side of it, but hopefully the obviously slam dunk side, the positive side will be, which is the next sort of the final portion of the trilogy of questions on your career, is the future. What are your goals, for the future?
We've just started, obviously. We've just recorded some new music. Obviously that's coming in the future. I haven't announced the stuff after Burnout yet, but just getting back in the swing of it. Obviously our last record was obviously all recorded during like COVID era stuff, so a lot of the writing of that was all like done over Zoom calls and writing like that. So with this like set of songs, we really wanted to kind of like go back to like playing together, practicing together, like writing it more like cohesively together. It's just about kind of finding that enjoyment and spark again of doing it, which I think we've all agreed this way of doing it is a lot better. Like, we learned loads of stuff in the last recording process, so I don't discount any of that, but obviously with the restrictions and stuff, it does suck not being able to do it in person, so being able to like be a proper band again, that's like writing the stuff exactly that how we would like to do the process, and the kind of stuff we want to write. It's been great. So I think my plans for the future are just obviously to get new music out, start playing shows again, like more regularly. Just generally just being more active and just enjoying being in a band again.
Yeah, for sure. Like short term, it's kind of just focusing on writing music again. That's something I think we kind of lost our way with in the last few years. But like, it's been a bit of a rebirth period for Weatherstate behind the scenes, where just creatively we're the most satisfied we've been as a band as well. And I know every band says that on every new album campaign, but like genuinely this time, like we kind of set these loose rules when it comes to writing, where it was like not to over kind of kill it in the early stages of writing. Like, for instance, that I used to just like be such a thing with demos where I'd layer them up, put loads on it, write all the drum parts, and then send them to Toby and be like, this is the drums, for instance. You know what I mean? And I think if anything, that was quite reductive. But with the new stuff, letting him have that voice again, his drummer voice, it's kind of like, I feel like we're at the point in the career as a Weatherstate now, when it comes to writing music, we're all like have like a voice almost, I guess. And it, for that reason, it's the most authentic like Weatherstate to this day, I think.
I think it's more just, following your point, like going back to just being authentic and having the most fun and writing stuff that, not that we weren't doing that previously, but because of, like I said, the restrictions and stuff, it kind of felt a little bit more like robotic, like trying to piece things together in like a kind of strange way sometimes.
Yeah.
Whereas this is kind of like going back to the basics of just like why we started the band, just like almost like no pressure. Obviously now we're all in our like early 30s and stuff like that. So I think we kind of reevaluating what it means to be in a band, and the kind of, what the goals are, what the stresses are. It's not so much about trying to make sure we, get as massive as we can. It's more just about just saying like, right, let's just go back to the basics and just start writing songs that we like, recording the music, releasing it, playing songs, and having a smile on our face whilst doing it, rather than doing it because we feel we need to keep up momentum or any of these kind of like buzzwords and stuff. So
that's it. Very much so. Like, doing it for ourselves in a nutshell, more so than ever. But it's been, with that kind of vision in front of us, it's been like super rewarding, like the creative aspect of writing music again. That's why I'm like so pumped on like the new stuff. Like that's the old way of doing it, and we're just really happy with the new stuff.
Callan and I've also done the production on this batch of songs, which you've never done before. So obviously bringing it all kind of in-house again, and while we've been together as a band for so long, we kind of know the process of recording music and writing music, and then we're a lot more kind of experienced with that kind of side of things. So it's been really cool to kind of like go into it with Neil, who we've recorded with, and effectively learn how to do those things and how to produce stuff. And because he obviously also gives us great ideas during it as well. It's been a very collaborative process, but being able to kind of really like stamp our kind of like feel and like vibe exactly how we went on it, I think it's been a really cool thing, and leans back into the making it really authentic Weatherstate, kind of knowing what you are as a band and what you aren't as a band, and trying to accentuate that kind of like character.
Definitely. I think that thing that makes us, that Weatherstate voice, like it's the most authentic, I think.
Fantastic attitude, really is, and obviously whets the appetite for listeners. Hopefully, the new music coming, definitely listeners need to be all over that, and also all over the live shows that are coming up. Best way to stay up to date with Weatherstate, I'll do it at this point, I always give out the social handles. I'd like to think listeners, in this day and age, you probably find them without my help, but I chuck them out anyway. And you make my life really easy, actually, because it is Weatherstate across all of your social media channels, which is fantastic, because I recorded a podcast before this, and there's like 3 different handles, underscores, etc., etc. So it's great, makes my life easier. So listeners, definitely follow the band for the new music coming, and the shows that are literally a few weeks away now. So you've got a UK tour with Chlorine coming up. Obviously, getting back out there playing shows, as you said, something you really want to be doing. So how excited are you for the shows?
I'm really excited for them. It's something that we even though we've been a band for 10 years, we've always only really toured like once or twice a year at most. But what was kind of cool with this scenario was like it's very much back to basics. Like it's us self-booking tours and all sorts usually anyway. But just kind of collaborating with Chlorine on like getting a UK tour together and all that stuff has been really cool. They're a band from the States, and it's the first time we've ever done like a DIY tour with a band internationally. So like there's been a lot of logistics and stuff to go through, but I'm just super excited for like to play again like new songs live, do it with those guys. But there's also a lot of shows close to home on this run as well. So like we're going to be doing like a special hometown show on this run, and there's also we're doing an appearance at Teddy Rocks, which is like the closest festival to our hometown and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just like really cool, and I'm excited to show those guys like the UK, for example, what we have to offer, like this side of the pond. So yeah, it's really cool. I'm really excited for the shows and stuff.
And again, it just goes back to what we're saying about just like making sure it's just like fun and authentic.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of quite smaller venues and just that kind of like intimate feel, just like, just like no pressure, just playing songs, having a good time. So I'm looking forward to doing that rather than it being like a momentum thing that we need to do these shows, we need to do that, we need to do this,
just doing it for
the fun of just doing it
live, really. But yeah,
and that goes back to what we're saying that's kind of been the new ethos that we've had of what we want to go forward as a band, kind of thing. So
absolutely, yeah, no, that's what it's all about. It is. And I'm glad you mentioned Teddy Rocks. I took my kids there a few years ago now. It's a fantastic festival, family festival, and obviously number one is for a fantastic cause, worth supporting. But equally, name me another festival where I can see Weatherstate play alongside. I was checking out the lineup for this year, and it's obviously you're on the same bill as Massive Wagons, like heavy rock. You got Dick and Dom, the Wurzels, and Atomic Kitten. I mean, that is a hell of a bill. That, come on.
I mean, yeah, where else?
For everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Where else would you get that?
Yeah, Teddy Rocks is a great festival. We've played that a handful of times. Well, more than a handful of times, shed loads of times. But we're good friends with Tom, the organizer, and yeah, it's obviously an amazing cause, and it's always a great time, So we're looking forward to that. Obviously, at the end, it's quite close to the end of the run as well, so it's kind of going to be like almost good to kind of climax with Teddy Rocks and then the hometown show after.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be real good fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, super unique. It's cool. It's like new niche market of them like doing these 90s pop parties and stuff like that now, especially like Butlins, but in Dorset. So yeah, I
remember one year we watched a Rage Against the Machine tribute band, and they were just so fucking good.
They were outstanding.
They just absolutely nailed the assignment, and we were there just obviously drunk at the time because we were staying over that night, and I just thought this is just fantastic. So yeah, they're kind of leaning into that this year with the covered bands and stuff like that. But
yeah, it'll be a good time. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely will be a good time. And I encourage listeners, obviously, head along to one of the headline shows if you can. Also, obviously, Teddy Rocks, if you're able to go and support that cause, go to the festival. You won't regret it. It'll be a great time. There'll be links in the bio of the episode that will take you to all of these places. But yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure sort of celebrating the 10 years of the band. We always finish the podcast with the same segment. And it's called Magic Wand. Basically, throughout the sort of last year or so, we've added this in because we've ended up talking a lot about issues in the industry with the guests that we've had on. So we thought, we'll go into Fantasyland just to finish off the podcast. And I'm going to give you a magic wand. And with that magic wand, you can change one thing in the music industry, but one thing only. Although I will give you both one each to make it fair and put you under equal pressure because it is a pressure question. So yeah, with your magic wands, what would you change in the industry?
Sadly, there's a lot wrong with the music industry. I don't know. My biggest pet peeve. It might be a bit of a basic, safe answer, but like I feel like when you're starting out as a band and you're trying your best to kind of, speak to as many people and expand your horizons as much as you can. My biggest pet peeve early on is ghosting on emails and stuff like that. I think anyone still struggles with that to this day, really, and. I think we've been a victim of like a lot of people may overpromise or might want to help you out early on, and then nothing comes of that. And I think that's something that can really hinder like the pace of a band starting out. It's quite important early on, but like I think we've fallen victim to a lot of that. It's going about 9 years ago now, but we were like scammed early on, like by a PR agent and stuff like that.
Yeah, we spent like £1,000 on some PR, which the guy never responded to us. And we were like, young kids at the time, like 20 or whatever, and thinking, oh, this guy's going to be able to get us on these kind of things, and just completely just mugged us off. And it's just like, it's just such a shit thing to do, like morally. Like I would never be able to do that to a bunch of young, like wide-eyed kids being like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. So shit behavior.
Those kind of errors, and sadly there's a lot of that in our industry, like kind of, I don't know, it's a tough field to navigate, like with any bands really. It's new or veterans or anything. But yeah, there's a hell of a lot of time wasting. But yeah, it's kind of that would be one of the things I would try and erase from history if we could.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. It is a good one. Harry, have you got a different one you want to add, or are you happy to adopt Callan's?
So I was going to say just like small venues in the UK and the kind of issues with bands like trying to start up and tour or whatever. Like the margins are so small in terms of the payments, and that's not the venue's fault, because obviously the venues have got all these rising costs, and like the government support and stuff is like non-existent. Like the Music Venue Trust is like an example of like an amazing organisation that's trying to kind of like help that. But if you're a young band, like you can't tour unless you accept you're going to make a loss, which is kind of all right for us where we're in our 30s and have jobs and stuff. You can just kind of subsidise it, but there's just no margins for anything, and obviously you have to sell merch and stuff to try and get by. But we've done like European tours and stuff, and you get looked after a lot better because the promoters they have more like arts funding and therefore more bigger budgets, and so as a band you get looked after more over there. You get get better like riders and food and beer and stuff like that. But I don't want us to be like focused on slagging off the UK venues. It's just because they have such a hard time, so I think just more government support for the arts to try and subsidize that and allow these like smaller venues to like continue, because then it makes their life a lot easier. They can continue what they're doing. It makes bands' life a lot easier, and that's going to make it easier for newer bands to come in, and it's going to result in better music. And there might be some bands that would have been amazing that just we'll never know about, because they'll just break up because it's not worth it and they can't afford it.
If there's no grassroots venues for those bands to be going into at the start of their careers, it's just where can they go from there? Really, there's very few artists who get to make a career out of just like capitalizing on a streaming service or TikTok or whatever. But a lot of it is just the hard work and graft of starting from the bottom, the smallest places possible. And without those places, sadly, you're not going to get an Ed Sheeran or
well, without the system to support that, and there's such a disparity between the big arena shows and the large organisations that run those shows and the fees they charge and stuff like that versus like a smaller venues like Southampton Join, as I was using as an example. There needs to be some kind of restructuring of that, whether it's like a government like intervention or I don't know, tax cuts or something to ensure that they've got more money to work with effectively. It help the industry a lot, I think.
Absolutely. That ecosystem is just so crucial. And obviously a lot of the big corporate companies and the government are so short-sighted, absolutely funding for the arts is such a critical one because, you feed that grassroots and it all grows from there. So like, obviously, such an important one you've picked there. And both really good answers. And again, I wish the industry was great and we didn't have to have that segment, but it's nice to put it in there and obviously hopefully just get a bit of understanding to listeners around some of the difficulties, because like you say, you book a lot of your own shows and fans will always be like, oh, why aren't you playing in my back garden, why aren't you playing this local? Fans probably don't realize how hard it is to get booked on a show, to book a show, to actually go out and play. It's difficult for bands to do. To try and not finish on a negative, I always throw the last message back to the guests. It's been great having you on, but what would be your final message for the listeners today?
I was going to say, thanks for anyone that's like supported us so far, that's picked up a like tape for the collection, has come to a show, has bought a ticket for next month's tour, and just to hold fire because we've been busy and we're going to continue to be releasing a lot of new music over the next year or two. So thanks for the first 10 years and see you for the next 10 years.
That's probably a better way than I could put it. Yeah, definitely.
But just appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Like you say, thanks for the last 10 years, but like here's to the next 10 years, looking to the future. Fantastic. And obviously great chatting with you, and best of luck obviously with everything coming up. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks a lot. Cheers for having us.
I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Weatherstate. Do make sure you follow the band across social media to stay up to date with everything coming from them. You can also stay up to date with Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.